October 14, 1943. Over the skies of Schweinfurt, Germany, 291 B-17 flying fortresses lumbered through the air, completely alone. No fighter escort. Just bombers, their crews, and the enemy waiting below. It was a daylight raid, a high-stakes gamble that ended in disaster. By sunset, 60 of those bombers were spiraling wrecks on the German countryside. 138 more were crippled, barely making it home. 600 American airmen were gone. The mission became known as Black Thursday. The mighty 8th Air Force was bleeding out, and one of the biggest reasons was the tail gunner. The man in the tail was supposed to be the bomber's last line of defense. But he was fighting a losing battle. The sights he used were primitive, just a simple ring and bead, like something from 100 years ago. There was no way to adjust for the incredible speeds, the deflection needed to hit a fast-moving target, or even the drop of his own bullets. The German fighter pilots knew this. They had a playbook for attacking a B-17, come in from 6 o'clock low, right in the gunner's blind spot. They'd climb up, guns blazing, pouring cannon fire into the bomber's belly, while the tail gunner fired almost blindly in return. The hit rate for an American tail gunner was abysmal, less than 8%. Crews were dying at an unsustainable rate. Enter Staff Sergeant Michael Romano. He was just 22 years old, a former factory worker from Pittsburgh. No fancy engineering degree, no special training. He was just a guy small enough to cram himself into the freezing, cramped tail gunner position. He flew mission after mission, firing hundreds of rounds at enemy fighters, but had 0 confirmed kills to his name. Then, on one fateful mission, the bomber next to his was hit. He watched his best friend's plane go down. That was it. Romano had had enough. One night, back at the base, he was sitting in his gunner's position, staring at his own reflection in the curved plexiglass bubble. And that's when it hit him. The problem wasn't the gun. It was the gunner. The gunner couldn't see where his bullets were actually going. There was no feedback, no way to correct his aim in real time. He needed a way to see the path of his tracer rounds as they flew towards the target. His idea was brilliantly simple. A system of small, carefully placed mirrors that would allow him to track the tracers, combined with a reflector sight, a piece of glass with an illuminated crosshair projected onto it. It was a revolutionary concept for the time. Against all regulations and without anyone's permission, Romano went to work. He scavenged parts from wrecked planes in the boneyard and overnight built his first prototype. He installed it in his B-17, knowing he could be court-martialed. On his very next mission, flying with his unauthorized modification, he scored his first confirmed kill. When he landed, the base's armament officer was furious. He threatened Romano with a court-martial, but Colonel Stanley Ray, his commanding officer, saw the potential. He made a deal. Romano would fly 3 test missions with gun cameras filming his new sight in action. If it worked, it stayed. If it didn't, the sight came out, and Romano would face the consequences. The results were stunning. On his test flights, Romano shot down 2 enemy fighters using only 380 rounds of ammunition. To put that in perspective, the average gunner used over 2,800 rounds for a single kill. Romano's accuracy had more than tripled, jumping from under 8% to over 23%. Colonel Ray was convinced. The base immediately started building more of Romano's sights, churning out 4 units a day from salvaged parts. Within 2 weeks, 18 B-17s and the 91st Bomb Group were equipped with what became known as the Romano sight. The numbers spoke for themselves. On October 20th, gunners using the sight scored 11 kills from 47 enemy attacks. On November 3rd, they got 16 kills from 68 attacks. The number of bombers lost to attacks from the rear plummeted by over 35%. The German Luftwaffe quickly learned their old tactic was now a death trap. They stopped attacking from the tail. Post-war analysis credited Michael Romano's simple, unauthorized invention with saving an estimated 840 bombers and the lives of 8,400 crewmen. For his ingenuity and bravery, he was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross. After the war, he never sought fame or publicity. He quietly returned to civilian life and worked as a machinist. At a veterans reunion in 1983, his fellow gunners, now old men, came up to him one by one, shaking his hand and thanking him for saving their lives. Michael Romano passed away in 2003, his incredible contribution largely unknown to the wider public. But his story is a powerful reminder that sometimes the greatest progress doesn't come from the top down. It comes from a determined 22-year-old in the field who simply refused to watch his friends die. If you were amazed by this story, hit that like button right now. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next incredible true story from history. And let us know in the comments, what is the most unbelievable story of wartime innovation you've ever heard? Thanks for watching.